Frankentoon
Studio.
Hello and welcome. This is Enrique from Frankentoon Studio. Today, I'm going to walk you through my process for creating this illustration in Procreate from the very first rough shapes all the way to the final details. You'll get a look at how I use color, brushwork, and a bit of organized chaos to bring everything together. Let's jump right in. Alright, so I kick this one off by blocking out the main shapes using a rough brush. Nothing fancy. This stage is just about throwing ideas on the canvas to see what sticks. I try not to spend more than a few minutes here, otherwise I'll end up overthinking it. And yeah, we don't want that rabbit hole. Once I had the basic shapes, I drop in some big blocks of color to start separating the different planes. Foreground, background, all that good stuff. Then I threw some rough lighting and shadows to get a quick idea of where the light's coming from. Again, super loose. Just enough to trick my brain into thinking I have a plan. At this point, I started painting over everything using my Canvas X brush pack for Procreate. This is one of my go-to sets when I'm going for a more painterly fantasy vibe. It's got these nice oily textures and blends like butter. The idea here is not to nail every detail. Just grab colors from the sketch underneath, smudge them around a bit, and let the piece tell me where it wants to go. Kind of like improv acting, but with less talking and more picking and smudging. Here's where the fun really starts. I'm just playing around, mixing colors, pushing things around, seeing what mood starts to form. When I don't have a clear idea of the final image, which is, let's say, often, this is the part where I experiment the most. As long as I've got the lighting, shapes, and general composition in place, I can just relax and enjoy the mess. Honestly, if those things are nailed down early, you're like 70% done. The rest is just you vibing with your brushes. Oh, and I try not to zoom in and out too much at this point, unless I'm trying to give myself motion sickness. So yeah, still keeping it loose. No tiny details yet, I only start refining when I'm sure the colors are working and the scene has the mood I want. You'll see the brushes I'm using pop up on screen. But here's a little secret. You don't need to use all of them. Like seriously. Pick 2 or 3 you like and stick with those. It's like having a small group of friends you actually know, instead of trying to be besties with like 50 people at once. The more you use the same tools, the more second nature they become. You'll start figuring out weird little tricks each brush can do, and suddenly, it's not just a brush, it's your sidekick. Now, I only start adding details when the piece already feels kind of finished. I know, sounds backwards, but it works. If you rush into detail mode too early, you lose the big picture and spend 3 hours rendering a rug that might not even survive the final crop. True story. That's why I always try to have my whole scene more or less figured out in the first 30 minutes. If something feels off, it's way easier to fix early on than after you've zoomed in and painted eyelashes on a goblin in the background. The last thing I always remind myself and maybe you too, is to know when to stop. Like for real, you could spend days noodling with shadows and highlights and not actually make it any better. Just focus on the parts that matter. In this case, I really wanted to bring attention to the characters' faces, their expressions, the vibe, so that's where I push the details. Everything else just supports that. Something people ask me a lot is how many layers did you use for this? And to be honest, I never know what to say because I don't really think in layers. I try to keep them to the absolute minimum. It's just how I work. I treat the canvas in Procreate the same way I would a real one, as a single surface. One where colors blend, get messy, overlap, and interact with each other. If this were traditional paint, I wouldn't be able to Ctrl Z or double tap my way out of a decision or turn off the sky layer to see what's underneath. And I actually like that. It keeps me focused and intentional with each brush stroke. I think sometimes we can get too caught up in the technical side. How many layers? Which brush? What blend mode? When what really matters is what you're trying to say with the piece. The number of layers you use says as much about your art as the number of pencils in your drawer says about your drawing skills. It's like asking a chef how many pans they used for a dish. I mean, cool if you're curious, but it's not really the thing that makes the meal taste good. So yeah, don't stress about layers. If working with a lot of them helps you, that's totally valid. But if you're curious about simplifying your process, I definitely recommend experimenting with fewer. You might be surprised how much freedom you get from not having everything in separate pieces. Also, before we wrap up, if you enjoyed this video, it would mean a lot if you hit the like button and maybe leave a comment below. Even a quick "hey, this helped" goes a long way. It tells you to, hey, show this to more people who like painting in Procreate, and that helps us keep making more content like this. So yeah, that's the ride. Hope it gave you a bit of insight or at least a few good excuses not to overwork your next piece. Thanks a ton for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Frankentoon Frankentoon